Welcome to the Blue Border YouTube channel. My name is Kylie and this is the second episode of the 10-minute meal mini-series. So this is a vegan meal, it's a gluten-free meal, you can have it for lunch or dinner. And I'm basically going to do a riff on a crispy chickpea salad that I make for us all the time. But instead of baking the chickpeas in the oven, I'm going to do them really quickly in the pan. So the rules are pretty much the same as the last episode. I'm not allowed to prep anything, nothing has been pre-prepared. The only thing I've done is heated my pan and I've got everything that I need out of the fridge. Okay, so I'm just about to set my timer. 10 minutes on the clock, you can see the time in the bottom right hand corner. And I'm going to start by frying up some chickpeas. So I'm just adding a bit of oil to the pan, and like I did in the previous one, I've preheated the pan. So I've got a tin of chickpeas there. This is actually a tin of chickpeas that I had just in the fridge already drained because I only needed a few for another recipe. So I'm just using the rest of that tin up. And of course my fingers are back in a hot pan. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. So I'm going to let those sort of fry up and dry out a little bit because I'm aiming to get them just a little bit crispy. And then I have some kale here. So this is baby kale. They're pretty small leaves. If I was using regular kale, I would probably do about 5 or 6 leaves. I think I'm going to do about 8 or 9 here. So I'm just stripping the tender leaves from the stems by holding one end of the stem and moving my hand up towards the top. And as I'm stripping the kale, I'm just going to tear it up into little bits. Some of this kale's got a few yellow spots, so I'm just going to remove those. It's not really kale season, so the kale isn't lasting very long at the moment. And then I like to always cook my kale for salads. I really don't like the flavor of raw kale even when it's being massaged, so I like to add some boiling water to it. This really tenderizes it and then slightly cooks it, and I just let it sit for a couple of minutes like that before draining. I'm just going to check on the chickpeas, give them a little bit of a shake. And then I'm going to add some flavoring, so I'm adding some coconut aminos here, and that's going to add a lot of sweetness as well as some seasoning. And then I'm adding some liquid smoke to make them slightly smoky. And I'm also going to add some paprika, so you could add smoked paprika or sweet paprika or even add both. I just have sweet paprika here, so that's what I'm going to add. And then I'm going to give them another shake, get them all nice and coated, and let them continue to cook. And then I'm going to make the dressing. So I've got some tahini here and a jar with a little bit of water in it. I'm going to pour the tahini in. I like to put water in first because that just stops the tahini from sticking to the bottom of the jar. And then to that I'm going to add some salt. And I'm also going to add some coconut aminos, again for a little bit of sweetness. Instead of coconut aminos, you could also add a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of agave or even some brown sugar. That sweetness just helps to balance the dressing out. And then I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar, but you could do lemon or balsamic, even lime for maybe a slightly different salad. Just giving the chickpeas a little bit of a shake up. And then we're going to shake up the jar, so just put the lid on, give it a really good shake. It's such a nice, easy way to mix this dressing without having to use a blender or a whisk or anything like that. And you can change the flavors as you like. You could add garlic powder, onion powder, mustard, and it comes out a really great consistency. It will thicken up a little bit as it sits, so just be aware of that as well. And then I'm going to cut up the rest of the veg. So starting with a bit of cucumber, I'm just going to do some nice half moons of cucumber. And you can do whatever shape you like. You can take the seeds out. If you don't like the seeds, you could cut them on a diagonal, or you could do even little cubes for that. And again, all my veg is washed. When I bring it home from the store, I like to let it sit in a sink of cold water with apple cider vinegar, and then that just makes sure that all the veg is really nice and clean and ready to go when I'm ready to use it. So just keeping an eye on the chickpeas, making sure that they're not burning. I'm going to turn this off now and just put them to one side. They'll continue to cook a little bit in the hot pan. but they're looking really nice and golden. They're not going to get super crispy in the pan. If you want really crispy chickpeas, I definitely recommend doing them in the oven, but it does take at least 45 minutes, so it's not really a 10-minute meal, but they're still good, really good in the pan. And then I'm just going to cut up some tomatoes. So I'm using 2 different colors, one red and one orange, and I'm going to cut these into little cubes. My knife really needs to be sharpened, but I haven't really figured out the whetstone, and I'm a little bit nervous of damaging them. So anyway, a tomato is a really great test to see whether a knife is sharp or not, as you can see. A blunt knife is definitely more dangerous than a sharp knife though, so I do recommend that you sharpen your knives regularly, and after watching this I'm definitely going to do mine. And then I'm just cutting up this orange tomato. I'm doing a slightly different cut just to mix it up and adding it to the bowl with the cucumbers. And then I'm just going to drain my kale, give it a rinse with some cold water, and that will completely stop the cooking process. And then I'm just going to allow it to drain a little bit so that I don't get a lot of water in the bottom of my salad, because that's always really annoying. And then in this bag I've got some butter lettuce, and I'm just going to cut those top little leaves off because they're looking a little bit ratty. So cut those off, put them to one side, and then I'm just going to shred the rest of this. And like I said, all the produce is washed, so once I've finished cutting this, I'm just going to add it straight to the salad. And then I'm just going to start chopping up some red onion. I'm just going to take the top off, cut it in half, and take the skins off. So if you're not a massive fan of having raw onion in salads, then you could do spring onion because it's a little bit less burny, a little bit less intense, or you could leave this out and do something completely different, like some red peppers or some green peppers or some avocado, whatever you would prefer. But I really like the flavor of red onion, and this red onion in particular was super sweet. It didn't have any of that strong burny aftertaste. I wish I'd taken better notice of what variety it was, because it was actually so delicious. And then I'm just adding it to the salad, giving it a really good mix up and making sure that everything is really well combined. And then I'm gonna add the cooked kale in there too, and I'm just going to repeat the same thing, mixing it up, making sure that everything is really well combined and that not all the like good juicy bits are at the bottom. And that's pretty much it. So we've got 15 seconds left. I wanted to add some hemp seeds to this, but I couldn't find them, but they would be a really great nutritious addition to this, super high in protein and healthy fats. But that's pretty much it. So the salad is done, the dressing is done, the chickpeas are in the pan, and then all you have to do is assemble into bowls, and that's pretty much time. Yeah, 10 minutes. Okay, and then I'm ready to assemble. So I've just given this another toss, and I'm going to divide the salad between the 2 bowls. So this is a nice generous portion of salad. I think it's always nice to have a little bit of extra food when you're just having salad, and I definitely think that the cooked kale makes it seem like more of a meal than if it was raw. I'm just gonna put the chickpeas on top. They're looking super nice and golden, and then I'm gonna start to put the dressing on top. So I'm just gonna drizzle it over the bowls. There's plenty of dressing there if you're a dressing person, and then they're good to go. Alright, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave the recipe for this salad down below. It's a really, really tasty meal. All the elements work so well together. You've got creamy tahini dressing, you've got cooked kale with crispy fresh lettuce. It's super tasty. Please let me know if you try it out. I would love to hear from you, and if you have any requests for fast, vegan, gluten-free meals, I would also love to hear from you, and I'll see you in the next video.